Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're jumping into some really rich excerpts from a narrative called that translates to The Pipe Maker and the Isolated Lady.
Mm-hmm. And it's quite a story.
It really is. It makes you think about choosing solitude, that deliberate, quiet life.
Exactly. And what happens when something just barges in, something very human?
So our goal here is to really unpack the character dynamics, the themes like second chances.
And vulnerability, too. There's this surprising depth to how the characters rediscover parts of themselves. It all starts with Eleanor Patterson. She's 62, living in this Vermont farmhouse she's been in for 40 years.
And the picture the sources paint is just so vivid. It's not lonely. It's, well, they call it elegant solitude.
Right. Very intentional.
You can almost smell the Earl Grey tea, see the homemade preserves lining the shelves, her silver hair, the autumn light. It sounds idyllic almost.
It does. But it's an idyll built after something else ended. A past relationship, a marriage.
The divorce, yeah. About a decade before the story starts. It was civilized, apparently. No big blow-ups.
No drama, but the marriage itself had just gone cold. That's the word used, cold. So Eleanor, she took that silence, that lack of conflict, and kind of made it her life's plan.
Predictability over passion, maybe.
That's a good way to put it. She figured peace meant avoiding risk altogether.
But we know, reading it, that kind of absolute control, it's fragile, isn't it?
Always is. Because life isn't controllable. Something has to give.
And it's not some huge event that shatters her world. No storm, no financial disaster.
It's probably the most ordinary, annoying thing possible. A leaky faucet.
The kitchen sink starts dripping.
Just dripping.
It's such a brilliant choice by the author, isn't it? That drip. It starts off small, almost innocent, like the text says.
Barely there.
But then it just grows. It becomes this persistent percussion, that's the quote, echoing in her quiet house like a metronome marking time she didn't want to count.
Wow, that's powerful imagery.
Why do you think that works so well? A dripping sink as a symbol.
Well, think about it. A house, especially her house, is her fortress. She's poured everything into maintaining it, making it perfect.
Right. It's her whole world.
So a leak, even a small one, it's like a failure in the system. It's decay. And it's a sound she can't shut out, not like, difficult thoughts.
It's physical evidence that her control isn't absolute.
Exactly. And it's a sound of time passing, the very thing she's trying to manage through routine and solitude. Plus, eventually it starts making puddles on her nice floors. Can't ignore that.
Okay, so the drip forces her hand. She needs help from outside her perfect bubble.
Which leads us to Margaret Henley, the neighbor, 75 years old.
The self-appointed matchmaker. You always need one of those in a story like this.
You really do. And Margaret recommends a plumber, James Whitmore. But she does more than just give a name.
She kind of throws down the gauntlet, doesn't she? Challenges Eleanor's whole philosophy.
Totally. She says something like, peace is all well and good, but then hits her with the big question.
Yeah, when's the last time you felt truly alive? When's the last time your heart raced for something other than your morning jog? Oof.
Right, that just hangs in the air. It sets up the whole emotional journey for Eleanor. Is her peace actually just numbness?
So James the plumber is scheduled to come on Thursday, and suddenly Eleanor isn't just waiting for a repairman.
No, she's feeling things she hasn't felt in years. The source describes her picking out a specific blouse, lavender, checking her hair, feeling those flutters.
Like first date nerves?
Exactly. She's aware of it, analyzing her own reaction. It's like she's subconsciously preparing for something more than just fixing a leak.
She's bracing herself for the typical gruff, middle-aged tradesman, right? Someone functional who'll do the job and leave.
That's the expectation. But then the doorbell rings.
And it's absolutely not who she pictured.
Not even close. The contrast is stark. James Whitmore is young, probably in his 30s.
Tall, broad shoulders. The description is very specific. Hair like autumn chestnuts. Hazel eyes with flecks of golden green.
Yeah, the author really paints a picture. It's an immediate physical jolt for Eleanor.
And it's not just how he looks. It's sensory, isn't it? His scent is mentioned clean, masculine, like cedar and fresh mountain air.
And his voice, rich like aged whiskey. This isn't just some guy with a wrench. He's presented as this like force of nature walking into her very controlled space.
Suddenly, her kitchen design for one, feels different.
It feels smaller, more intimate, is how the text puts it. But what really strikes me is their first interaction, how James reacts to the house.
What about it?
He doesn't just walk in and head for the sink. He actually stops and notices the place itself. The incredible craftsmanship, the care she's obviously put into it over 40 years.
That's interesting. Why is that detail so significant, do you think?
Because Eleanor's used to being defined by, well, what she isn't anymore, married, maybe younger, part of a couple.
Okay.
And here comes this young, attractive, confident man who immediately validates her work, her taste, her effort. He doesn't have that patronizing assumption she might expect.
The assumption that an older woman, especially one living alone, couldn't possibly know about maintaining a house like this.
Exactly. So his respect for the house instantly translates into respect for her, her agency. It opens a door for a real connection, beyond just client and plumber.
So that breaks the ice. He gets to work on the sink, finds the problem, a worn-out seal, pretty common for old fixtures.
Standard stuff.
But Eleanor finds reasons to hang around, refilling his coffee 3 times, apparently.
Yeah, the text makes a point of that. 3 times. She's finding excuses, maybe tidying her spice rack nearby.
And she's watching him work, watching his hands described as strong and capable, finding it mesmerizing.
It's during that time while he's working that the conversation starts to shift. It goes from pipes and seals to something more personal.
They start sharing things, right? Vulnerabilities.
Yeah, these little parallel stories emerge. Eleanor talks about the house itself, how she and her ex actually built parts of it, learned carpentry, plumbing by trial and error.
Wow, okay, so she has a history with this stuff.
She does. And she mentions how the marriage just faded quietly. No big fight, just grew apart.
And James shares his story, too.
He does. He opens up about leaving this, really good desk job, insurance adjusting in Burlington, making good money. But he felt like he was suffocating. He wanted something real, honest work, something where he could fix things, see the result, make people's problems go away.
Huh. So they both kind of ran away from something that looked successful on the outside but felt empty inside.
That's a great connection. She ran from emotional coldness into solitude. He ran from career coldness into physical work. They get each other on that level.
They understand that kind of quiet desperation, maybe.
I think so.
Yeah.
That shared feeling that a safe life isn't always a fulfilling one, which leads to this really small but huge moment.
What's that?
After Eleanor talks about her quiet divorce, James just looks at her for a beat. And then he says, very simply, his loss.
Oh, just 2 words.
Just 2 words. But think about what that means to her. After a decade of maybe wondering, even subconsciously, if the quiet end was somehow her fault, her failing.
Right. When things end without fireworks, it's easy to internalize blame, maybe feel undesirable.
Exactly. Her solitude might have felt like a retreat from that feeling. James's comment, it doesn't just flatter her, it reframes her past. It says, the problem wasn't you. Your value is obvious.
It's validation she didn't even know she needed.
Precisely. And it's like a switch flips inside her.
That gives her the courage.
It seems to. Because the flirtation ramps up immediately after that. She hears him humming or singing softly folk songs she likes and comments on it.
And then the physical touch.
Yes. She makes the move, lets her hand rest lightly on his shoulder. The description is intense. She feels electricity shooting through her fingertips. He goes very still.
The air must have been thick in that kitchen.
You can imagine. The silence is suddenly charged. They both know something has shifted. The plumbing job is basically irrelevant now.
Someone has to say it.
James does. He says something like, I get the feeling we're not just talking about plumbing anymore. Acknowledges the elephant in the room.
And this is where Eleanor could pull back, right? Get flustered, laugh it off, citing the age difference.
She could. Society might expect her to. He's young enough to be my son, as she notes. But she doesn't pull back.
She leans in.
Totally leans in. Admits she's flirting shamelessly, actually.
I love that. Shamelessly.
It's brilliant because she follows it up by basically shutting down any potential judgment before it can even form. She dials him straight. I'm not some naive young woman. I think I'm perfectly capable of making my own decisions about what I want.
She's claiming her desire, her agency, saying, my age doesn't make me fragile or foolish. I know what I'm doing.
It's incredibly powerful. It's not about desperation. It's about choice, a conscious choice to pursue this connection.
And James meets her there. He doesn't get weird about it.
No, he meets her exactly where she is. And his response is just perfect for the moment. He validates her not just as a person, but as a desirable woman.
What does he say?
He tells her she's beautiful, Eleanor. Really, truly beautiful. And then he clarifies, crucially, not just attractive for your age, not pretty for an older woman, just beautiful, period.
Wow. No qualifier.
None. He sees her, not her age bracket.
And that leads to the kiss.
Described as electric, consuming, like waking up something that's been asleep for decades, 20 years of dormant desire.
But even in that intensity, there's a flicker of doubt as things move towards more intimacy upstairs.
Yes, the source includes that moment of realism. As things escalate, she has this flash of insecurity. What if her body disappointed him? What if she'd forgotten how?
That feels very real. That fear doesn't just vanish because the attraction is strong.
Not at all. But James handles that beautifully, too. He senses it, maybe. He doesn't focus on the physical reassurance immediately.
What does he do?
He brings it back to the emotional core. He asks her things like, do you remember how to feel, how to want something, how to let yourself be cared for?
Oh, that's deep. He's connecting the physical act back to her emotional reawakening.
Exactly. So the intimacy isn't just about sex. It's described as a revelation that rocked Eleanor to her very foundation. It confirms that her capacity for passion, for connection, for feeling intensely alive, it wasn't gone.
It was just waiting.
Waiting for the right person, the right disruption.
So the story then jumps forward a bit, right?
Yeah.
To the spring.
Yeah, there's an epilogue. It shows that this wasn't just a one-time passionate encounter fueled by a leaky faucet.
It's stuck.
It's stuck. Yeah. Eleanor, 62, and James, 31, are together. They made it through those initial stares and whispered conversations you'd expect in the small town.
And the sink.
Never dripped again.
Yeah.
The original problem is solved. Permanently fixed.
But James keeps showing up.
He does. He has a new habit bringing her wildflowers, joking that 6 hours apart is practically a lifetime. It's sweet. It shows the ongoing connection.
And the loose ends. Margaret, the family.
All tied up. Her adult kids apparently adore James. And Margaret, the matchmaker, she's insufferably smug, taking all the credit, as you'd expect.
Of course. So the final takeaway, the theme.
It's really about those unexpected second chances. It shows that things like passion, connection, love, they don't really care about age gaps.
And that sometimes the best stories don't start how you'd think. Not once upon a time, but more like, I never expected this.
Precisely. I never expected a leaky sink to change my life.
So wrapping this up, the big lesson here for you listening seems to be about that controlled life Eleanor built. Wasn't bad, it was peaceful.
It served a purpose for a time.
Right. But the real joy, the deepest aliveness, came when she allowed that unexpected thing, that drip, that plumber, to break through her defenses.
And crucially, she didn't just let it happen. She chose it. She embraced the connection because she finally knew herself well enough and was brave enough to claim what she wanted, regardless of how it looked.
It comes back to agency, doesn't it? Self-knowledge. She wasn't swept away. She actively stepped towards passion.
Absolutely. She realized her old values, her elegant solitude might have been keeping her safe, but they were also keeping her small. The connection with James worked because it was built on mutual respect, seeing each other clearly, vulnerability, none of which has an age limit.
Which leaves us with a really interesting question for you to think about. We tend to look for big signs, right? Big decisions to change our lives, new job, new city.
Grand gestures.
Yeah, but maybe the real nudges towards change are smaller. More annoying, like that leaky faucet. The little problems we try to just patch up and ignore.
So the question is, what's the leaky sink in your own life? What small irritation or inconvenience might actually be signaling a need for a bigger shift? Trying to invite a whole new possibility through your door.
Something to definitely mull over. What are you trying to ignore?
It's a great thought to end on. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.